Wow. I have never seen the community so split on an episode like we had with Spike at Your Service. From what I've read, opinions have ranged far and wide. Well, let's talk about it a little. Spike at Your Service by Dave Polsky and Meriwether Williams. I'll be brief with the plot this time around. In a hiatus of work from helping Twilight, Spike gets himself into trouble with some timberwolves at the Everfree Forest. Applejack saves Spike from the wolves, and Spike now finds himself thinking he owes a life debt to AJ based on a dragon code, which, judging from the card, is either a little moral obligation Spike made up himself, or just an interpretation of an actual part of dragon culture in this world. In any case, Spike tries to help out AJ as much as possible, but it starts getting messy for AJ. She tries to find ways to convince Spike otherwise of his life debt, and in the end results in an attempt to reverse the scenario and have Spike save her life. This plan goes from being fake to being an actually dangerous and identical scenario to which Spike does pull through and save AJ. With the debts equaled out, and after AJ explains how she feels about the whole thing, despite saying so right after saving Spike originally, Spike lets go of his obligation. Now this is a plot we've seen before in other shows, which others have pointed out. This isn't anything new for Friendship is Magic. We've seen inspired and borrowed plotlines used before. What's nice about Friendship is Magic is how the writers handle the borrowed plotlines by still making them unique. Some have felt fresher than others, while some still came off with a bad taste in our mouths. Not every episode is going to be stellar. As fans, we're going to be biased because we're going to look at every piece under a microscope. It's what fans do. I mean, look at me right now. I could just be watching the episodes and enjoying them. However, I want to review them because I enjoy the show enough to enjoy discussing them. I like talking about and discussing stories, be it movies, books, or video games. It's fun because the mediums are fun. What I don't like is thinking these episodes are made for us, the older fan base. To be fair, at this point, we know the development team is completely aware of us. But we shouldn't get upset and disown everything just because a character went a little too far in this direction or a story was simplified for the sake of time. That's really where things like fan fiction come in. As fans, we extrapolate on the ideas of the show, which weren't touched upon in the 22 minutes given. Fans do these things because they enjoy the medium enough to warrant their imaginative input. That's great, but we shouldn't get upset when things don't occur on screen exactly as we wished. That being said, episodes can simply just have bad structure or writing or character usage or other technical elements which can bring it down. But I feel, as an extremely unexpected fan base of the show, as we are, we should remember what got us into liking the show in the first place, and enjoy what the show has to offer instead of focusing on the occasional and rare hiccups. For me, Spike at Your Service was a great episode. It's not a top 5, but it's one I would always enjoy watching again. The humor was natural and enjoyable, and we got interactions with the entire main 6 and each character had a fun tidbit. Rarity fit right in. Once again, she's forcibly presented with shoddily cooked meals and further exemplified her wit and attention to detail. Dash is always one for a good prank, and found personal enjoyment for almost fooling Spike in the fake Timberwolf attack. Fluttershy has grown a bit, and as such sneaked in some subtle assertiveness in this episode. She stood by her idea of telling Spike nothing else needed help with. I mean, look at that face. She knew she was right. And Pinky is, well, Pinky as usual. Wait a minute, what? Rarity, when, how, and why are you in that canon? And Applejack still fit the honesty bill. She told Spike right off the bat how she felt, and it pained her to come up with a fake chore for him. We also had some more enjoyable animation. Once again, the development team seems to scoff at the overusage of recycled animation, and instead throws in as many new poses and movements as they can fit into a scene. Absolutely brilliant. I love that. And I don't know about you, but I thought the 3D models for Timberwolves, while a risky maneuver, still pulled through. Yes, it does sort of clash with the rest of the show's style, but based on the Timberwolves' anatomy and imagery, it makes a lot of sense. Especially when you consider how they reassembled and formed. I can't see their scenes being as powerful if they were exclusively in 2D. Personally, I like the concept of Timberwolves as a monster and their design. I also thought the concept of them forming a Megazord or a Voltron wolf was a cool idea. It's like an oh shit moment when I first saw it. And the 3D design sort of accents the dark magic of the Everfree Forest because it further solidifies the split of the two realms. Just so long as the show makes conservative use of these 3D models so it doesn't clutter the screen, I think it's a cool addition for the show. I recognize that Spike's actions didn't make sense in this episode. If he were as big of a klutz with OCD Twilight as he was with AJ, then he probably wouldn't be Twilight's #1 assistant. Yes, this is a very good point. But two things. First, remember we don't have the same writers writing every episode, or even the same team as we had in Season 1. So continuity can be misplaced here and there. To be honest, I think there actually is an astounding amount of continuity for a show which has such a collection of writers, and new writers. And second, it's paramount to the plotline. AJ has to get tired of having a helper, and what better way for that to work than to make Spike bad at helping? Sure, it's simple, and overlooks how actually helpful Spike has been in the past, but again, 22-minute limit. There's a lot more which can be said in this episode, but in the end, I just flat out had fun with this one. If weak elements existed, I honestly didn't pay attention to many of them. In fact, this episode kind of reminded me of regular show with its pacing. It starts out simple and then just builds up into this crazy thing at the end. Actually, I think I'd personally add this episode to the indoctrination list, as I guess we're calling it, as in this episode is an episode I'd show to an interested newcomer as an introduction to the show. It had all 7 characters, it had the adventure element with some monsters, it had great animation, and it had a neutral message plotline that wasn't thrown into your face. Not the best standalone episode because the show has a lot more to offer elsewhere, but helps break any preconceived judgment of what My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is. Plain and simple. So again, wow. People really split on this. What did you guys think of this apparently polarizing episode? I'm curious on your thoughts. As usual, I'm Wheels, everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
No, really, I'm really happy to help you.
Oh.